Got Steve Helwick on the line from Hustlebelt and Underdog Dynasty, both on SB Nation. Please head on over there. Check out his work and the rest of the crew there again on Hustlebelt and Underdog Dynasty. Louisiana Tech and Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs get together in Starkville in week 1.
The first thing I think of when you mention this matchup is 3rd and 93. I don't know if you remember that play from a couple of years ago when Louisiana oversnapped it and the ball just kept going backward. It looked like one of those NFL films like Follies moments in like the 70s or whatever. And then Louisiana Tech recovered their own. They had 3rd and 93. But beside that point, Mississippi State, a year 2 under Mike Leach. I remember that first game under Mike Leach, and that was probably the biggest overreaction collectively that we had since Kenny Trill at Texas A&M had that one game against South Carolina. And KJ Costello threw for 623 yards on LSU, the reigning national champions, and Mississippi State won in Tiger Stadium. Mississippi State on week 1 was not the same team as they were on last week. They were good on both of those weeks, but they were terrible in the middle. There was a ugly transition time in the middle where they had to go from the veterans to the freshmen. And Mississippi State was a very freshman-heavy team last year, and that's the group they went with at the end of the season. And it started coming to fruition. Their freshmen really started improving every single week. And then we saw that happen when they upset Missouri in a high-scoring bout late in the season. And then they took down a ranked Tulsa team in rainy conditions in the bowl game. So I think Mike Leach has a vision now. I think he knows where to go as a head coach with a lot of young wide receiver talent. And he has his guy in quarterback, Will Rogers. He's built for the air raid. He's not afraid to throw 50 to 60 times per game. And I think Mississippi State's finally in good shape after that Arkansas loss just put them into a tailspin in the last year middle. I like their receivers. I like Jaden Wally. I like Malik Heath. I think that they have a lot of talent there, and that's what you need to run an air raid offense. But the Mississippi State player I want to focus the most on this matchup is a guy by the name of Emmanuel Forbes. Freshman cornerback last year. He had 5 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, and almost had 200 return yards on interceptions. He's as big as a playmaker as I saw from the secondary last year. And he was vital in those last 2 wins against Missouri and Tulsa, scoring a touchdown in both games and totaling 3 interceptions. He is an early All-American pick I would have for cornerback, and I think he's one of the best defensive backs in college football. I think he's only going to get better as his experience improves. So that's going to be a key matchup with Louisiana Tech's wide receivers in the opening week. Louisiana Tech is not very good at running the football. I think they finished bottom 10 in the prior year in that category, but they do have some good receivers in Smoke Harris and TCU transfer Isaiah Graham. Last year, they really ran a 2-quarterback system with Austin Allen and Luke Anthony, but Luke Anthony in the regular season closer against TCU had a gruesome leg injury that I believe he is still recovering from. So this is going to be Austin Allen's job. Louisiana Tech's been pretty consistent under Skip Holtz in being a above average but still middle of the pack CUSA team. They have not won a conference, shockingly, under Holtz, even though he's been there for, it seems like, a decade, and they win their bowl game pretty much every season. But I think this game's going to go in favor of Mississippi State. I like a lot of the things I saw late from them last season, especially in those Tulsa and Missouri games. I think they have a lot of weapons on offense, and I think that their defense, which is getting more veteran, more experience this year, is really going to step up. Their defense was pretty good against the Auburns and the Georgias late last season, and against the Louisiana Tech offense, which was pretty offensively challenged at the end of the year. I think Mississippi State should be able to hold them to under 2 touchdowns in this game.
It's Louisiana Tech and Mississippi State, the battle of the Bulldogs in Starkville in week 1. As the Bulldogs, of course, the Mississippi State Bulldogs prepare for an SEC campaign, the second under Mike Leach, looking to revive an offense that was inexplicably dead after that LSU effort in week 1, as Steve outlined. And then they're statistically, their offensive production in the passing game was just incredibly awful. They had efforts in which one game against Kentucky, they threw the ball 70 times. They only had about 220 yards of total offense, threw 5 or 6 interceptions, went through a stretch in which they only scored 4 or 5 points per game for about a 5-week stretch offensively. So Mike Leach, known for the offense, dealing with a different set of circumstances at Mississippi State versus SEC defenses. Steve Helwig, you can catch his work at Hustle Belt and also at Underdog Dynasty. Steve, we always appreciate you stopping by, breaking it down for us.
Thank you. Just talking about these games has me looking forward to all of them.